evening everyone, and welcome to our first Facebook Live on devolution. I'm Councillor Anne Handley and I'm the leader of East Riding Council, and to my left is...
I'm Councillor Hammond, the Cabinet Member for Planning, Communities and Public Protection. And I'm here to help Councillor Handley tonight. I'm the question master, and I think the first big question, Councillor Handley, is what actually is devolution?
So, thank you very much for that. So devolution is devolving powers down to local government to give you more say in what happens in your area, and also devolving money down to us so we can spend it on the things that we know it wants to be spent on, rather than Westminster making those decisions for us.
Yeah, absolutely. In short, it's getting more money and more powers in the hands of local people. I think it's important for us to point out when we say in the hands of local people, we mean that because with the mayoral devolution deal that we prefer and we want to see, it's you guys and us who get to elect the person who runs that devolution deal, the mayor, and how that money and those powers are used.
That's right, yeah, and that's got to be good for us, so you get to decide and you get to choose, along with us, what we want in our area.
Absolutely. I think, what sort of powers and stuff are we talking about?
So we would be able to have more say on our transport. We are a huge rural area, as you know, but we would be able to have more say on that. We would be able to have more say on infrastructure, because we would have the money to be able to spend on infrastructure, such as roads, etc. We'd have more say on skills, which is really, really important for us. We need to grow our skills and re-skill our people to be able to get the jobs with the economic investment that would be coming to this area as well through a devolution deal or a mayoral combined authority deal.
And we have got some questions that have been pre-submitted by members of the public, but just before we get on to those, what is the progress we've got to so far on devolution and the negotiation?
Okay, so devolution's been on the table for quite a number of years. And sadly, I have to say, that for us, this part of Yorkshire is the last place to get, or hopefully get, a mayoral combined authority. So West Yorkshire, South Yorkshire and North Yorkshire have already got that. Excuse me. We have kind of looked at lots of different things, and I came in May this year to be the leader of the council, and one of the things that I absolutely wanted for you and me, as you as residents, and I'm obviously a resident as well, I want us to have the best I can get for us, and we've started those negotiations with Hull City Council, and I have to say they are going quite well at the moment.
You mentioned that word combined authority a few times, and I know that's a bit of a pet hate of yours, because it's not the best term that the government's chosen to use to call the type of deal that we're going for.
No, it isn't. It's a misnomer, I'm afraid. Combined, it's not combined. We're not combining with anybody but ourselves. We will not be merging with Hull. We will be East Riding of Yorkshire, and Hull will be Hull City. That's how it will always be. There is absolutely no merging whatsoever. So the word combined, to me, I just feel it's the wrong word, because it's not that at all. And
that leads us pretty strongly into our first question, which is from a resident called David M, and that's why try and recreate Humberside? It didn't work last time and was hated by most of East Yorkshire.
Yeah. Hi David, good evening, and thank you for coming in this evening. And thank you for your question, and I couldn't agree more. People really, really, really disliked Humberside, but I can honestly sit here and tell you I am not in any way, shape or form wanting to recreate Humberside at all. We will stay as we are, as we always have been, and Hull will stay as they are. We will not be combining and calling ourselves anything like Humberside ever again. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it's key to say into that. The councils, Hull City and East Riding, will continue to do what they do now, separately, collecting your bins or fixing the roads or adult social care. That'll all stay as it is now.
Yes.
But what it is that we're looking to work together for as East Yorkshire, under a mayor whom we hopefully all get to elect and they do a good job, is those things which are currently decided by government.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's that so we can decide together what we want, and I think that's a win-win for us, really.
Absolutely. David B has put forward the next question, which is, will our council tax go down if you get the deal that you're looking for?
To be fair with you, David, hand on my heart, I don't know whether it will go down or it won't. I haven't actually got that far. However, what I can say is, if we get the deal we want and the deal we're striving for, it will mean a substantial amount of money coming into East Riding and into Hull to form the deal. So where we go with that, I'm not quite sure. It will be put into transport, it will be put into infrastructure, so that will be better for us. But I do not know and cannot honestly say whether or not that will reduce our council tax. However, as I alluded to at the beginning of this is the first of our Facebook Live sessions. So as we go down this road, I'm more than happy to come back and be able to answer that question more fully for you. And I'm sorry I can't give you an exact answer this evening.
I think the key thing to point out is that it would be the councils who, as you just confirmed, still continue doing their own services, who would still control council tax. It wouldn't be the mayor.
No.
However, obviously, as you just said, what the mayor will do is bring in loads more money from central government to the local area to do stuff like infrastructure, transport, adult education and skills, which is really key for us locally. So hopefully we'll have less pressure on our local services and the need to tax local residents, but we can't confirm that because it's up to the councils whether they want to increase council tax or not going forward.
Or decrease council tax.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
To say, yeah.
Absolutely. The next question, we've got a couple of questions from J. Peter. 3 parts to his question, and firstly it's, what powers will be devolved to the East Yorkshire Mayoral Oral Authority?
Okay, thank you, Peter. 3 parts. That's wonderful. So the first one, what will be devolved will be we will be able to have our own say on infrastructure, as I've said. We'll be able to have our own say on skills. We'll be able to have our own say. Well, we'll be working to bring in more inward investment into the area. We'll be looking at transport, lots and lots of different things we'll be able to, that will be ours for us to decide, for you to decide what we do with those powers. It will all be down to us. It won't be down to one person. It won't be down to central government. It will be down to us as individuals, as residents of East Riding, to decide what we want. Now on the powers, we're just working through that. I've had a meeting today about exactly what devolved powers will be coming to us, and we are actually negotiating with government, and I've actually got a meeting on the 18th of October with Councillor Ross from Hull City Council, with Jacob Young, the Minister for Levelling Up, to actually look in more depth at what our exact powers are going to be. Again, we will do another Facebook Live session, and hopefully I will be able to come back and give you the exact powers that we will be getting.
Yeah, I know from seeing all the meetings you've been going to in London and stuff with ministers that you're pushing to get as many powers and as much money in the hands of local people here in East Yorkshire as you can, which is really key. And I think when we talk about devolution, there's 2 aims from the government. One is getting that business investment in, and obviously, as you just explained, getting all the infrastructure improvements to our area, better roads, better rail, better buses. That all helps make us more attractive to business, because obviously it helps having a mobile workforce, and also getting those adult skills, which I know you're really keen on with your education background, here to help make sure that it's our local people who benefit from all the new jobs we get.
That's right, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And when you talk about the rail infrastructure, we need better rail infrastructure in the East Riding. And we need better rural bus services in the East Riding, and they're all the things that I've been speaking to ministers down in London about, as well as Councillor Ross. So we actually do know, even though we've got a city, which is Hull City, and we've also got East Riding, which is rural, so we've both got different things that we want out of this deal. But I can honestly tell you, the one thing that Councillor Ross and I are absolutely adamant about is this deal needs to be right for all our residents in East Yorkshire. We all want the best deal, and if it's not a good deal and we're not happy, we will not be taking it.
I know you've been clear since you became leader in May 2 that you want residents to be consulted on that deal.
Yes.
And when you say if it's not right for the area, that means you're going to ask the residents and consult them in detail.
Yes.
And if residents aren't happy with what you've been able to negotiate, we're not going to push it forward.
No, we're not. And part of one of the asks from government, and we don't have a choice, it is part of going down a mayoral combined authority. We have to have full consultation with residents, and there will be an independent body that will make sure that that happens. It has got to be done. If we don't actually tick that box for government, we cannot get any further down the road anyway. So there will be full consultation that will go out, and it will be an 8-week consultation where you will be able to either agree with what's on the table, disagree with what's on the table. It will all come back and we will re-look at it, reshape if we need to, and then go back out. So you are there every single step of the way. Nobody is going to do anything without the buy-in from you, the resident.
And I think just to assure residents that that is the case, if you look around the country, although most areas residents have supported their devolution in other areas, because who doesn't want more money to come and invest in our services locally and get more businesses in the area to create more jobs? But in the one place where residents didn't support their devolution deal, which was Cornwall, the council hasn't moved that forward now because they can't, because you have to have the resident buy-in, which we think is really important anyway.
It is. This isn't being done to you. I'm hoping that you all, whoever's out there listening at the moment, it's being done with you. We're all going forward together. Nobody wants to do anything to you. It's with you.
Absolutely.
There's a big difference.
And that's why we're sat here doing this now. So we want to make sure everyone out there's got the information so that when we do consult them, they know what devolution is, what it's not, and they can have a real informed input into what our future deal is.
That's right. That's exactly right. And so we should.
Absolutely. And the Council Handley doesn't have a slow mode, so we'll be moving at a fast pace, which is not a bad thing at all. The last question from J. Peter is, will such a deal make it easier for us to work with the 3 other mayoral authorities in Yorkshire on things like transport and infrastructure? So that's North Yorkshire, West Yorkshire and South Yorkshire, who, as you've already said, have already got their mayoral deals in place.
It absolutely will, and what a fantastic question. And that's the drum that I've been banging since I became the leader of this council. I can't tell you how frustrating it is not to be able to sit at the table as an equal with the other 3 parts of Yorkshire. We are not equal. We cannot sit there. I cannot negotiate on anything, purely and simply because we do not have a mayoral combined authority. It is really, really frustrating to think that we in East Yorkshire are actually so far behind the other 3 Yorkshires. So yes, it will make it much easier if we get our mayoral combined authority and I can then sit at the table and negotiate on behalf of the residents for what we want. Because actually, if all 4 Yorkshire mayors are in agreement for something, that supports all of us, that helps all of us, and we can all put some money into whatever it is that we may need, whether or not that's fantastic rail, infrastructure coming in, whether that's a better transport system. Instead of those 3 dealing with themselves and we just stand on the sidelines, we will be in there doing the deals as well. So yes, we definitely will be better placed at the table. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, J. Peter, for those questions. Next is from Josh, which is, what decisions have both the councils already settled on?
So at the moment, we haven't actually settled on any decision. Actually, no, I'm sorry, Josh, we have. The one thing that we have both settled on, Councillor Ross and myself, is, as I alluded to earlier, it has got to be the right deal for our residents, for Hull residents and for East Riding residents. That is the one thing that we are both stood firm on. We will only accept the deal if it's right with you. Obviously, it's consultation with you as well. So if everybody's in agreement, we will move forward together. But if the deal's not good enough, then I'm afraid we will be walking away. As for the rest, that hasn't come yet. We haven't actually settled on anything yet. Again, like I said, I'm meeting the Minister with Councillor Ross on the 18th of October. That's when the discussions between the ministers and ourselves will start to take place. So at the moment, that is the only one thing that we are settled on.
And I think whilst it's not such as a formal thing, but what we can all agree on is We don't want a mayor who's going to cost us a lot of money. We don't want any brand new shiny buildings for this mayor.
No.
They can have a room here in County Hall or at the Guildhall in Hull. We want a cheap mayor in the sense that as little money as possible from government needs to go to funding that mayor's office, because it is the government who funds the mayor's office, not us. But we want as much money as we can from government to go into local services, getting local businesses to start up in this area and creating those local jobs.
Yes.
So thank you, Josh, for that. We've got a question from Michael now, which is, I understand devolution is about financial benefits to our council, but what are the council services which will actually be most benefited by devolution? So I think that means, like, was it highways or which council services?
So thank you very much for your question. So it will be, as Councillor Hammond's just said, it will be a lot of our frontline services. So our highways, i.e. potholes, etc., better roads. It will be skills. We want to reskill and upskill our residents for the jobs that we will hopefully be bringing to the area, the good jobs. We will hopefully attract good investment with good companies. We already have excellent companies and we do have a good track record of inward investment where we want to build on that. We won't be sharing services, I just want to put this out there, we will not be sharing services with Hull, we will stay as we are, so the Hull will do their services, and so we will still empty your bins in the East Riding Council, we will still, as I said, do your potholes, etc. That's down to us. Probably get them done a lot quicker actually with a few more £1 million in the bank, but we will still be doing our own services. I hope that answers your question.
I think highways is a really important one,
Yes.
because I know when I talk to my residents, highways is always a big issue. And when we talk about devolution, we talk about how it would be great to get that more money to fund our highways. Because we are a massive area with a relatively low population, so we do struggle to do that.
Yes.
So it's really key that we get that central government money, which devolution would bring to fix our roads. And I think at the moment we do bid for money from government. We get it sometimes we don't. But what devolution would do, it would give us a settlement for 30 years, so we could plan much more long-term maintenance, which would be so much better for building up the resilience of our highway network. And I know, obviously, Councillor, you mentioned a lot about business investment. I know you work really closely with the businesses, and they've told you they're all in favour of this.
Absolutely. I have to say the businesses, both large and small, all up and down the Humber, are absolutely 100% behind this mayoral combined authority and have been for a number of years. The support that they are currently giving is phenomenal. They are all behind it. They all know that it's the right way to go. So if you're out there, businesses, a massive thank you to you for what you've actually supported up to now.
And I think their reasons for doing that is about, they know that once you get them there, you're much higher up on the government's priority list for getting more money, getting better infrastructure, and of course, businesses want that better infrastructure because it makes it better for them as a business environment to grow up in and sell stuff in and employ people in, get those skills that you've been talking about loads. It's so important, and I think going back to the council services, the more business we have in the area, the more business rates we get in, and therefore a percentage of that is given back to the council and spent on our frontline services, which is really key to improving everyone's lives in the East Riding.
And just to go back to the mayoral combined authority, you don't have to bid for anything. That's the beauty about it. Money is automatically devolved down to you, and as Councillor Hammond said, sometimes we're really good and we do win the bids, and sometimes we don't. There isn't any of that. You are just given the money to spend how you feel it should be spent, and that is a huge difference. The amount of officer time, etc., that's taken up writing bids that go nowhere, and obviously some that do go somewhere, that will all disappear. That will free up so much for everybody, and we'll know going forward we've got X amount of money over the next 30 years, and we can sit and plan properly.
And crucially, again under a mayoral deal, it's residents, all of us as East Riding residents, who get to vote on the person who leads on that.
That's right.
And I think just to assure residents though, not all the power's in the hands of the mayor, is it?
No, not at all. No, that can't ever happen. That not one person would have all the power. There would be at least, again, I've had a governance meeting today, there would be at least the leader of each council as a minimum who would work with the mayor, and then there will be others that we're just working through at the moment, and the mayor does not have all the power whatsoever. It has to be joint. Everybody needs to vote, so it would be silly to put all the power in the hands of one person, and that would never happen.
Yeah, the mayor leads, so people elect a mayor presumably on a manifesto, and then that mayor leads on what they want to deliver. But as you say, you've got that checks and balances by the two councils having that position on.
Absolutely.
It's called the mayoral cabinet, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And to make sure both areas are fairly represented,
Yes.
and one person doesn't have all the say, which I think is really important. But it's also important that it's the public who have the say on who that one person is.
That's right, and so they should. And
Absolutely.
so they should.
Then we've got a question from Dr. Mary Munro Hill, which is, what possible advantage would there be for the East Riding in this devolution proposal? And she's posing this question as a resident of the East Riding who has always enjoyed its independence, pride and traditional identity.
None of that will change at all. We will always be independent. We'll always be proud, and we've definitely got our own identity. Again, the only thing that will change is that we will have more powers to do what we want together with more money. That is truthfully what this mayoral combined authority is about, and also that we can sit at the table and negotiate on a higher playing field to the one we've currently got. But nothing will change. We'll still have our own identity, and we'll still be that independent East Riding.
And I think what's really important to point out as well is that the way things are going, with more and more parts of England getting these devolution deals, actually if we want to stay as that proud, independent, strong local area with a strong voice on the national stage, we need to have them there to make sure we keep that, because otherwise we could risk getting overwhelmed by all the other mayors.
Yes,
who the government seems to prioritise for funding and also to listen to. So that was the end of our pre-submitted questions, so thank you everyone for submitting those in advance. So we're now moving on to questions from the live comments, and I should have said at the start, actually, please do submit any question you've got on the live comments, and anything we can't answer tonight, because we can't answer it or we run out of time, we'll get written responses to. So the first one is from Paul, which is, evening guys, could you provide some comments on how devolution could work for young people? I think the key thing is all about jobs. And
yes, thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for your question. It's all about skills and jobs and getting investment into the area and getting actually companies to work with young people in a variety of ways, offering apprenticeships, which I'm a huge fan of apprenticeships. You're earning while you're learning, and you can't beat that. So that's one thing. Hopefully businesses can offer young people really worthwhile work experience places, and working with colleges, universities and schools. The more people, big businesses, small businesses, entrepreneurs, the more people we get on into East Riding, the more we can help and look after our young people and watch them grow and prosper as well.
I know you're obviously one of the local councils for Gull, and Gull's been such a success story in terms of getting that investment in as part of your town deal and
yes.
all the levelling up stuff you've got. So it's a bit like putting that across the whole county, isn't it?
It is. And just to say, I did work at Gull College as part of the whole college group for 17 years, and I can assure you that young people and skills and jobs and opportunities is one of my passions. I'm really passionate about seeing young people get on, and that is really important to me. They're our future.
Absolutely. The next question is from Sue, and it's, what will the authority, the mayoral authority I presume, be able to do to improve transport connections to areas outside of Hull? That's obviously really important for us as a big rural county. Bus networks and trains, it's absolutely key.
It absolutely is. I mean, last week I was at the Transport for the North meeting in Manchester, and I did ask, did anybody know where East Riding was, or have they ever heard of a place called Hull? And they were a bit surprised, I think, but it's the truth, because I feel as though we've been left. And can I just say, one of the things I also said was, we have the largest train manufacturer in Europe in the East Riding, and I can't even get on a train to Leeds. So they took that away, I think, and I do believe there is some, not because of me, by the way, I was just having a little bit of a, I'm not happy that our side of the country seems to be missing out so much. And I do believe there is some funding available for us for our rail infrastructure, and I am actually trying to work with Graham Stewart MP on the Hull to York line to see if we can get that back up and running. But equally, I am in Goole and I can't even get to Leeds, and we've got the biggest rail manufacturer. I mean, it's ridiculous. We need some real proper transport funding to get us around this country like everywhere else seems to have. So I'm really passionate about that one as well.
I think it's really key, as well as buses, as well as trains.
Yes,
and what devolution would let us do is, whereas we now plan bus routes for the East Riding and Hull plan their own separately, it allows us to do it across the whole county, which allows you to access obviously more money, because the bus routes in Hull tend to be more profitable than ones in the East Riding, and it allows you to balance it all out, move it across the whole county. And if you look at areas like Manchester, Teesside, where they've already got the deals, public transport has massively improved, and the costs have tended to go down as well.
It does,
which is really good.
Last week I was in Manchester, and the trams and the new bus services that they've got and the train services they've got, and I came back and I spoke to my cabinet and the officers and said we need to improve our bus services. Definitely need to improve that. We need more bus services for definite. And more in more areas. We are rural, but it shouldn't stop. That should not stifle, because we want to live in a rural area, should not stifle us getting from A to B or C to D, and that doesn't work for me anymore. So we need more money for that, and I have actually asked government for that as well.
Absolutely. So we've got less than 5 minutes left now. So again, if anyone's got any more questions, please submit them on the comments, and we'll take a note. And we'll get back with written responses, but also, as Councillor Handley said, we'll be doing more of these going forward, not just on devolution, but other things as well. The last question then from the comments is from Jason, which is, what if you don't want a mayor at all? Is that an option, or is it a case of you're having a mayor, how would you like it to be?
Great question, fantastic question to finish on, Jason. Well, so we don't have to have a mayor at all, but then we wouldn't get half the money or the powers or anything. We would then be on a level 2 deal, and if we want the powers, which we do, and we want the money, which I think we do, what goes with that is a mayor. It just is part of that level 3 deal. A level 2 deal, you don't need to have a mayor, and I'm scratching my head trying to think where has got a level 2 deal, and I think at the moment I can't think of anywhere, Jason, that's actually taken on a level 2 deal. Everybody wants the best, which is, I know we get the mayor, but we also get the money and we also get the powers, and that seems to be fair, the only game in town. And if that means that we have to have a mayor to go with that, I'm quite happy to have that. Ben Ouchin, I think, is up to £1.6 billion of investment that he's got up in Teesside. Over 5 years. Well, you see, that to me is really important. What could we do with £1.6 billion? And that's what I think. The mayor we just happen to have the mayor that will be able to unlock all that for us. And that's, in my mind, that's a small price to pay for the amount of funding and the amount of powers that we could and should have in this area.
And you've mentioned Ben Houcham and Teesside a couple of times tonight. I think that the reason for that is because economically, geographically and population-wise, they're pretty similar to the East Riding. So we have been, over the years, looking at them and seeing what they're getting and how many businesses they're attracting to come to their area, and think, well, that's what we could be doing if we have that mayoral deal too. Yeah. I think that the key thing for me, as well with the mayor, is what we said right at the start. It gives residents, the people of the East Riding, the say on how the money and powers are spent by being able to elect that mayor every 4 years, which without that mayor we wouldn't have, which isn't proper devolution in my eyes, because devolution is putting power in the hands of local people.
It is. but I think we're at the end.
Yeah, we're running over time now, so I'm going to hand over to you to close.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for everybody that's listened and everybody that's sent in the questions. Really good questions. I can only again apologise that I haven't been able to answer everything in full this evening. We will be having another update. Thank you very much for taking the time to spend with us. I hope it's been you've got some information and you're happy with that. And take care. Have a lovely evening, and hopefully see you all soon.